So yeah, I never expected it to happen to me. Just over a week ago, I started getting these pains in my chest, and they would come and go, and I was, I didn't want them to be anything more than heartburn, and kept putting it off to have it checked. And after all, I was too busy and had too many things to do, and there was work, and there was pursuing God's heart, and all the things of life that I was just so focused on. And I decided that if it doesn't get better by through this weekend, this is a week ago, um, I I'm going to have to call my doctor and see what he says. And so it didn't go away. It just got worse. This pain right there. And it got to the point where I had to pull off the road once when I was driving because I thought I was going to pass out. And I happened to be a long way from home when that happened. Then I think I just got to get home. I don't want to have something bad happen an hour away from home. And when I got home, I decided, hey, if this isn't gone by Monday, I'm going to ask my doctor. And I called, described my symptoms, and the RN said, go to the ER now. And I did. And of course, I was having a heart attack. And it's amazing because I wasn't frightened or bothered too much. I was just annoyed at the interruption. And it's made me stop and reflect and think. I mean, I wasn't thinking much except for just trying to talk to the Lord and take it one step at a time as the doctors and the nurses, hurried around, and they gave me tests, and then they, stuck the little wire through my vein and checked out my heart with a dye and found blockages there that needed 4 stents and a little balloon thing. And I wasn't thinking about the philosophical end of things, and I wasn't even afraid. In fact, at one point I said, Lord, boy, if this is the time for me to go home, I love it. And then started the process of recovery. Really tired, sleeping every day quite a bit for a whole week. And it brings me to now. I just came back from the doctor and he gave me the go-ahead to go back to work. And I've been thinking, what do you want me to learn from all this, Lord? This post, this email, this newsletter is about prayer. It's been my desire to garner a strong team of prayer partners. The first goal that the Lord has given to me is like 200 prayer partners by the end of July, and then 400 by the end of the year. I really believe that God wants to use pursuing God's heart in a very special way. But it's not going to happen without prayer. And this was like an explanation point to me that I really need prayer. I need prayer for the protection and for health and everything, but also to keep things in the right perspective. We worry, we hurry, we work, doing the right things and the best things, and maybe sometimes not necessarily for all the right reasons. I don't know if that's where I was at. There's a really good chance of it. But as I thought and reflected, my mind went to Psalm 139, and the Lord reminded me of how David said, you knit me together in my mother's womb. You made me, and saw me, you knew me in the secret place. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And I've often said to the patients that I see in hospice care who know and love the Lord, that to remember that God has knit them together, and he's been so involved in your life, and he's made you just the way he wants you. And I had to come to claim that and embrace it for myself. And I've been doing that more and more in the last few days. I found out that it probably wasn't because of my lifestyle that a heart attack, but because of heredity. My mom had a stent. My grandmother had a defibrillator in her side and defibrillator. And my grandfather died of hardening of the arteries. My grandmother on my mother's side had a stroke. We have all these heart issues. My father, he passed younger than I, so if he had heart problems, they never rose to the surface. Instead, it was cancer that grabbed him. And in God's sovereignty, that's what took him home. So I'm thinking, Lord, in your sovereignty, haven't you done all these things, knitting me together just the way you want, knowing, planning, understanding my heredity, of putting that DNA together so that there would be this chance, this destiny to have a heart attack, so to speak? And was it really a destiny if some of the choices I had made had been a bit different? Not quite so many hamburgers or not quite so much coffee. You don't know. But God doesn't make mistakes, and he doesn't waste things. Psalm 139 goes on to say that your thoughts concerning me are more numerous than the grains of sand. Now, all my days are written in a book. God knows all this, and he knows that was going to happen. And so I receive that with peace, but also with a desire to learn that the decisions made today, and even the reasons why they were made, why the direction is there, it is so important to be in the right vein, the right direction, the right thing. I've felt really strongly that God wanted me to do pursuing God's heart at this juncture in life, to promote a discipleship that is oriented toward understanding the world through God's eyes, and especially his compassion and desire that there would be people from every nation, every language, every tribe that would be ushered into God's kingdom. And it's a thrill to do it. So I acknowledge that everything that has happened earlier in my life has brought me to this point, and that even this point, God is building to somehow use for his glory for the things that are coming. And I know there's been mistakes I've made in the past. There are things that I could have done different. There are relationships that could have been better. But that's all past. And God says right now, I want you to commune with me, to hear my voice, and to follow me. Don't you think that's true? This newsletter is about prayer. And the sixth question of a series on prayer is, pray without ceasing? You've got to be kidding. And that's below as you read this letter. I just encourage us to enter into the spirit and attitude of understanding more deeply God's intimate work and involvement in our lives to accomplish his purposes that are good and right. And even if we haven't had success in some areas in the past, God is so merciful. He's so loving. He's so good. He doesn't waste anything. All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. That those who he foreknew, ordained, will become conformed to the image of the Son. He's working in us to make us like Jesus. And being like Jesus, we want our hearts to beat in rhythm with his. I hope my heart physically will beat in a stronger rhythm in the right direction from here on out with all the energy that I have left, because I want to know that the time I have is invested in the things that really matter. That might mean some changes on a really basic, simple level that has been hard is to give up coffee when you've been drinking it your whole life. But other things too, like how much TV, how much time I spend with people. How do I handle the things that I tend to avoid that need to be faced? A number of things, and you probably could think of your own things that God would want you to think through and work through. We only have one life. And I'm more aware than ever before that after this one, I stand before the one who knit me together in my mother's womb. And I hope he'll say, you know what? You did it just how I expected. And so, please be encouraged. We're learning from everything in life, and we're never too old to not learn anymore. But God also puts us in a position where each of us, in our own sphere, no matter what age we are, have the privilege of influencing others for Jesus. So as you read on through the newsletter about prayer, please seriously consider about being one of the ones who joins the Pursuing God's Heart prayer team. I need your prayer very much, and whatever becomes of this ministry and where it goes and develops and grows, that's going to be a result of prayer. And there'll be need for financial help as well. Right now, just for operating expenses. But by the end of this year, please trust God with me that I'll be able to stop doing the hospice care and be able to go full time on Pursuing God's Heart. Because doing both at the same time, it's a pretty heavy load. A joyful load, a pleasurable, a draining load, but one in which God, both spheres, God is glorified and honored. So please join me in thinking and reflecting on these things and praying together. I really am thankful for you, and I'm thankful for your time right now. I hope it's well invested.